Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're prepping for the IBCLC exam, you're in the right place. Think of this as a study group, just me and you. We're going to tackle some key questions about breastfeeding rhythms, all based on Nancy Moorbucker's breastfeeding answers. So let's jump right in and see what we know.
So, you think you're ready for the big exam? Let's put that to the test. We're going to go through this Q&A style, really dig into some research-backed answers together. It's a great way to see what's really sticking. Okay, first things first, let's talk about those golden hours. That incredibly important time right after birth. This period really does set the stage for everything else, so knowing these details for the exam, it's a must.
All right, first question. This is a classic scenario you'll face all the time. A parent asks you, so what's the big deal with skin-to-skin really? What 4 specific, measurable benefits would you tell them, based on the research?
That is such a great question to start with. So, an Israeli study in the text gives us some really concrete answers. Compared to babies who were separated just for a little bit, the skin-to-skin babies slept more soundly, they cried less, they had fewer random movements, and they just looked more relaxed and less distressed. What's wild is the skin-to-skin only lasted an hour, but those positive effects, they were still measurable over 4 hours later.
Exactly. And that really hits on the long-term game, right? It's not just about having a calmer baby for a few hours. This one simple thing can literally head off future breastfeeding problems and helps families breastfeed exclusively for longer. It's truly foundational stuff. Okay, on to the next one. This one brings in a couple of really common interventions. Pethidine for pain during labor, and then that quick separation for, say, a bath. What does the research tell us happens when you combine those two things? How does it affect that all-important first feed?
Oh, the research here is just so powerful. That classic study by Rigord and Alade showed that either one of these things on its own could cause issues. But when you put them together, wow, get this, 100% of the unmedicated babies who stayed with their moms latched all by themselves. But the babies who had both the medication and a 20-minute separation, 0. Not a single one managed to do it on their own. That's a pretty huge difference.
And that is the perfect segue into our next section, which is all about the impact of these common interventions. This is the world our clients live in, so understanding these ripple effects is just part of the job. Okay, next up, the C-section. It's one of the most common surgeries, period. So when we're looking at it through an IBCLC lens, what are the 2 main ways, I'm thinking physically and hormonally, that a cesarean can make breastfeeding trickier at the start?
Yep, it's a double whammy, really. First, there's the obvious physical side of it. Mom is recovering from major surgery, so just getting comfortable and finding a good position is a huge challenge. But then there's the hormonal piece. Research has shown that on day 2, moms who've had a cesarean have lower levels of both oxytocin and prolactin compared to moms who had a vaginal birth.
Okay, time to put on your official exam-taking hat. This is a research-based question just like you'd see on the real thing. So focus on the details. The baby is separated, swaddled, and we're looking at the effects by day 4. What are a couple of likely outcomes?
Okay, before we get to the answer, let's just quickly look at the 2 groups in the study. You've got the intervention group. They were taken to the nursery for 2 hours and then swaddled for the rest of the time. Then you have the control group, who just stayed with their mothers. Setting it up this way really lets us see the effect of those specific practices.
So what happened? Well, the results were pretty dramatic. The babies who were separated and swaddled lost significantly more weight, they were drinking less of their mom's milk by day 4, and in the long run, they breastfed for a shorter amount of time overall. It's such a clear example of how these early choices can have really big, measurable effects down the line. So we've spent a lot of time talking about how things can get thrown off course. Now let's switch gears and talk about the natural biology we're trying to support, the baby's own feeding rhythms and the mom's milk production cycle. This next one, it really gets to the core of what we do. We're always talking about feeding on cue, but why exactly is following the baby's rhythm so much better than sticking to a parent-made schedule, especially in those early weeks? This is one of the most important things we teach. A baby-led rhythm is all about flexibility. It's smart. It adjusts to the baby's appetite, sure, but it also syncs up with the mother's unique milk storage capacity. This dance ensures the baby gets the right amount of milk, the right amount of fat, and that milk supply is calibrated just right. A rigid schedule just throws all of that beautiful biology out the window. Okay, you get this call all the time. A mom is freaking out because her baby wants to cluster feed all evening, and she's convinced her milk supply is gone. What's the real science behind this pattern that we can use to reassure her? Right. It all comes down to the fact that breast milk is not the same drink 24/7. Prolactin levels peak overnight, which means milk volume is highest in the morning. As the day goes on, that volume naturally tapers off. But, and this is the magic part, as the volume goes down, the fat content goes up. So those frequent evening snacks are like little shots of high-fat, satisfying cream for the baby. It's a feature, not a bug. Okay, time for our last section. We're going to dive into two topics that can get pretty heated: pacifiers and safe sleep. For these, knowing the evidence like the back of your hand is everything.
Let's tackle the pacifier. This is never a simple yes or no answer, is it? We have to be able to give a balanced view. So, what are the 3 key risks and the 1 huge potential benefit that we need to be ready to discuss?
Okay, let's lay it all out. On the risk side, research has linked pacifier use to more ear infections and thrush. Plus, it can sometimes lead to fewer feeds a day, which isn't great for milk supply. But on the other side of the scale, you have a really big one. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends pacifier use during sleep to help lower the risk of SIDS. So it's a really nuanced conversation.
And for our last question, let's think critically about our own advice. When we tell exhausted parents, whatever you do, don't bed share, what dangerous situations might we accidentally be pushing them into?
This is such a critical concept. It's all about harm reduction. The truth is, a parent who is bone tired and trying desperately to stay awake is probably going to nod off eventually. And falling asleep with a baby on a squishy couch or a recliner is infinitely more dangerous than a planned, safer bed sharing setup on a firm mattress. Our advice has to exist in the real world.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? We tell parents, you must breastfeed around the clock, but you must never ever bring your baby into bed with you. It puts them in an impossible bind. Our job as IBCLCs is to help them find a path through that conflict with advice that is safe, realistic, and evidence-based. What a perfect place to end. Thanks so much for studying with me today.